Okay, calculation time. We've spent quite a bit of time understanding what earned value management is. At a very high level, we understood the different concepts such as planned value and cost performance index, etc. We understood why it's crucial. Now we're going to do the calculations by hand. I recommend that you do follow along by hand, try to do the calculations on a piece of paper because it is extremely useful. It's not difficult at all, but it's extremely useful. So let's get started with an example. Consider a project where we need to build a 4-story building. The total duration planned for the project is 1 year, with a total budget of $400,000. After 6 months, we've spent $250,000 and we've completed 40% of the work. So let's just take a look at this example before we get into the calculation. Let's just take a look at it from a high-level overview here. So it's a 4-story building. I have a total budget of $400,000 for it. Okay, so I can say $100,000 per story. After 6 months, we've spent $250,000. Well, after 6 months, I would expect that we would have spent $200,000 because it's $100,000 per story. And we have worked for 6 months, which is half the total allowed duration for the project. The project is a duration of 1 year. So if I'm halfway through, I should have spent half the budget, $200,000. But instead, I spent $250,000. And I've only completed 40% of the work. I should have completed 50% of the work, but I've only completed 40% of the work. So let's do our EVM analysis from there. Right. To start the EVM analysis, let's do a few variable definitions. Planned value is going to be represented as PV. Actual cost is AC. Budget at completion is BAC. Now, budget at completion essentially means what is your budget for the project. Earned value is going to be calculated as EV, or earned value, is equal to your budget at completion multiplied by the percentage of work complete. Remember, earned value is how much work I've actually done. So it's the budget at completion multiplied by the percent of work complete. Your cost performance index is going to be calculated as your earned value over your actual cost. Your schedule performance index is going to be calculated as your earned value over your planned value. How much did you earn versus how much was planned? Your estimate at completion, denoted by EAC, is going to be your total budget or your budget at completion over the cost performance index. And your estimated time to completion is your planned time over your schedule performance index. It's okay if you don't understand what any of this means. That's okay. We're going to break it down step by step together here. Right, let's move on. So first off, we identify what we know. We know that a planned value is $200,000. Why? Because the total duration of the project is 1 year. We have already used up 6 months. By 6 months, we should have spent $200,000 because it's $100,000 per story. So I should have completed 50% of the work, which means I should have spent $200,000. $200,000 is my planned value. How much did I actually spend? My actual cost? $250,000. That's given to us in the question, in the example. I actually spent $250,000. What's my budget at completion? Remember, I told you budget at completion is the budget allowed for the project, which is $400,000. That's given to us in the question, in the example. Okay, this is all we know so far. Everything else is a calculation. This is all we know at this point. So let's start calculating. First, I'm going to list down everything that we currently have on the left-hand side, or all our different variables over here. And we're going to identify what we know, just like we did before. And now we're going to calculate our earned value. Our earned value here for the project is going to be our budget at completion multiplied by the percentage of work completed. So in this case, it's going to be $400,000 multiplied by 40%. I've only completed 40% of the work. Think back to the example. That gives me a total earned value of $160,000. Now pause here for a second and make sure that you really understand this. I planned to have done $200,000 worth of work up until this point because I expected that I would be 50% of the way through. What I've actually done is only $160,000 worth of work. You need to understand that there's a difference between earned value and planned value. And make sure you calculate earned value correctly because a lot of things to follow depend on it. From there, I can calculate the cost performance index, which is essentially the earned value divided by the actual cost. That gives me a value of 0.64 in this example. The rule is, if your cost performance index is below 1, you're over budget. If it's above 1, you're under budget. You're performing well. If it's exactly 1, then you're right on budget. The same happens for the schedule performance index. It works in the same way. Different formula. So what it does is it takes your earned value divided by your planned value. And that gives me here in this example a value of 0.8. The rule is the same again. If your schedule performance index is below 1, you are behind schedule. If it's above 1, you're ahead of schedule. And if it's exactly 1, you're right on schedule. So based on these two variables here, cost performance index and schedule performance index, I can say that I am both above budget or over budget and behind schedule because both values are less than 1. Now I can calculate my estimate to completion. So I can take my $400,000, which is my budget, and divide it with CPI, which is cost performance index. So $400,000 divided 0.64 gives me $625,000. What does that mean? That means that instead of the project costing me $400,000, if I proceed with that same pace, on the same rate, in the same way of doing the work, I can expect that the project will actually cost me $625,000. Make sure you understand this. If I proceed in doing these things the same way as I'm doing right now, it's not going to cost me $400,000 anymore. It's going to cost me $625,000. You've taken that $400,000 and you've divided it by how well you're doing in terms of costs, 0.64. You can do a very similar thing in terms of time, your estimated time to completion. Okay, well, I estimated that it's going to take me 1 year or 12 months. 12 months divided by how well I'm doing in terms of the schedule, which is my schedule performance index, gives me 15 months. It tells me, hey, if you keep doing things the same way you're doing them now, you're not going to finish the project at 12 months. You're actually going to finish it at 15 months. I hope you can see through these calculations just how informative and crucial earned value management is. Now, this is a very simple example that I gave here, but I hope it identified to you what each of these variables mean. Cost performance index and schedule performance index are really crucial because they give you an indication of the health of your project in financial terms. Okay, a lot of information to digest. In earned value management is such a huge portion of cost management. Please revisit these slides again, this recording again, if you need to do the calculation again. Like I said, I recommend that you do it by hand. Take your time to digest it, and we'll see you on the next one.